Right now, there is a voice in your head. It's reading these words, narrating your thoughts, and pacing your inner world. We assume this internal monologue is the baseline of the human experience, a permanent feature of our biology that has existed since the very beginning of our species. But the historical and psychological record suggests otherwise. True introspective consciousness is a relatively recent adaptation, barely 3,000 years old. Before that point, human beings lived in a state of mental automation. To understand how our ancestors functioned, we have to look at the bicameral mind. This is a psychological model where the ancient human brain operated as two distinct functional chambers. When an individual faced a novel situation requiring a decision, the right hemisphere processed the variables, generated an auditory hallucination, and transmitted it directly to the left hemisphere. The person didn't experience this as a sudden stroke of insight or an internal debate. They heard it as a booming, external command. To them, the gods were literally speaking. Our ancient ancestors navigated the world without what we would call a self. They were biological automatons, driven entirely by externalized auditory hallucinations. When we treat the Bronze Age as a forensic study rather than a collection of myths, these ruins reveal a different psychological reality. Under this framework, Homer's epic poems are the earliest surviving medical records of the human mind. In the original Greek, you will find no instances of characters weighing options in an internal mental space. They do not ponder. They are entirely acted upon by external forces. Take the famous conflict between the warrior Achilles and his king Agamemnon. When Achilles is enraged and about to draw his sword, he does not rely on a personal conscience to stop himself. The Iliad describes the event explicitly. The goddess Minerva descends, visible to Achilles alone. She physically grabs his hair, delivering a direct vocal command to stay his hand. Psychological conflict simply did not exist internally. Every moment of mental distress or crucial decision-making was experienced as a physical, real-world encounter with a hallucinatory entity. This operating system governed the entire species. When other warriors like Ajax or Diomed enter the fray, the mechanics remain exactly the same. Their motivation occurred without an internal monologue. Diomed doesn't hype himself up with a pep talk to overcome fear. Minerva appears to him, supplying the courage as an externalized rush of adrenaline. Ajax doesn't make a conscious decision to push through fatigue. The text states that Neptune literally strikes him with a scepter, instantly making his hands and feet feel light and active. This rigid command structure actually worked perfectly for early hierarchical societies. In these tightly packed agricultural communities, survival required immediate, unquestioning obedience to authority. These early humans were capable of intense emotion, rage, sorrow, terror, but they were entirely incapable of profound, comprehensive thought, living out their lives completely under the dominion of their sensory hallucinations. But this system had a breaking point. As populations expanded, human societies grew massively complex, forming sprawling civilizations defined by intricate trade networks and diverse laws. A brain that only understands binary, hallucinated commands like attack or harvest cannot navigate the nuance of property contracts or diplomatic treaties. The internal operating system hit a processing limit it wasn't built to handle. As the environmental stress of city life outpaced the brain's capabilities, the psychological system collapsed. The voices began to fail, and the gods went completely silent. To prevent total societal collapse, the human mind underwent a rapid adaptation. The rigid brain barrier broke down, and the two chambers violently folded in. This structural rewiring forced the brain to integrate its functions, processing information internally to survive. Without the external voices to command action, the brain had to generate a new mechanism to process choices. The collapse of the gods forced the birth of self-awareness, and with it, the internal monologue. Which brings us back to that voice narrating your thoughts right now. That voice is the evolutionary scar of a broken mind, a biological patch that rushed in to fill the silence